this afternoon. Well, taking a look at the markets, investors at this stage seeming to be pretty nervous about taking positions with all the volatility that we're seeing. What are you making of the movement right now?
Alishia, this morning the markets are very, very flat, if one could use that expression, very mixed. We see a bit of profit taking. We investors really holding back for the data this afternoon at 2:30. That's going to give us some direction. Just investors are cautious because one doesn't know if you should buy, because there is far more risk to the downside than there is to the upside. But just as you think we're seeing a bit of a correction, as we did earlier in the week, with the markets coming through key technical levels, we have a bounce. So investors still wary, just looking forward to this afternoon's data and for direction at least.
We know that in that regard, US jobs data is being expected to come out with a fifth month, in the positive, showing some growth. What are your expectations there in terms of impact on the markets? Because one would assume to a large extent growth has been factored in already.
Yes, Alishia, I think what's important is to see that continuing improvement in the jobs data. There is expectation for improvement there, and if, however, we do not see that, we're going to see risk appetite diminish, and then we're possibly going to see a weaker rand and markets pulling off. And if we did have any investors who had any positions taken in this morning, they're going to close out their position, because then there is far more risk to the downside. So we'll see a lot of volatility this afternoon.
Well, in the meantime, we've got quite a bit of local news making headlines, keeping things busy. Telkom has confirmed the exit of its CEO Ruben September, giving no particular reason as to why he's retiring. What's the market reaction been to this news? Because his entire tenure so far has been mired in quite a bit of controversy.
Alishia, I think the market has been looking at Telkom. They have come out after the Vodacom portion sell-off that they're going to be moving into the cell phone space. They haven't really come to the fore there. The market's still waiting for some news in that space. So really a wait and see attitude, and possibly negatively on that. He's decided he's going to move on. He possibly does. He doesn't see the need to stick around. So what's important for them is really for Telkom to come out and have a good follow-up plan, someone good who is going to replace him.
And also, many analysts saying to stop spending so much. You've just highlighted the fact that they've re-entered the mobile space after having sold off a stake in Vodacom. It's spent money there. It's a brave decision to start operations from scratch, but really putting the company in a difficult position. They've also jumped onto the data center bandwagon. When do you expect to see this, paying dividends for the company?
Well, Alishia, they haven't, they haven't come forward, and they haven't been specific to a start date. And I'm sure what they are probably doing is looking at all the entry points, what they're going to do, their launch, and one is hoping that they are going to do a proper launch and into the mobile space in a good manner and really be aggressive. So, investors perhaps a little anxious to see what they're going to have to offer, but maybe a little bit of time will give them a better position in that space. So we'll just have to see what they're going to do, Alishia.
Oh, well, something that we're also waiting to see what unfolds is the entire situation we've got with Orascom and Algeria. We've had Algeria blocking Orascom's planned sale of JSE to South Africa's MTN. Implications for MTN and its growth story moving forward?
Well, Alishia, I think investors should be a little concerned in terms of MTN wanting to go and look for acquisitions. MTN has been doing very well in terms of their operations. They have been growing their subscriber base, and one has to question as to why they seem to really be going out there and wanting to acquire. I think that obviously depending on the terms, if we're going to hear next week on the 9th of June, 6 weeks after they sent out their cautionary notes, if there is possibly something, obviously there's a 50% chance that there might not be anything.
Yeah.
But MTN is a good performer, and I think it's going to do well regardless of whether they are able to acquire a Rascom.
Well, that acquisition does come with a very big price tag, sitting at $7.8 billion for that business. Moving on, just looking at some of the pressure that's being exerted on the local bourse today. We've got that Resources 20 segment coming under pressure. Gold, though, within that segment, managing to hold steady onto that $1,200 level. After slipping back 1% yesterday. What's your view on gold right now?
Alishia, I think it is a good fear hedge, and we have seen a lot of news, and I think investors are possibly waiting on the back line. We have some investors coming in and buying at those levels with the expectation that there's going to be more bad news out of Europe, and that the growth story globally is not going to be as optimistic as some have expected, and are really supporting the gold price at $1,200 an ounce. So we do see upside to the gold price, but one has to be cautious. If we do see a turnaround in risk appetite, then we're going to see investors moving out of gold and into equities.